I'm so honoured and privileged to be sharing a stage with our next guest. This woman is an inspiration, a change maker who redefines the concept of leadership. She lives and breathes her values and rallies so many to do the same. Founder of Share the Dignity organisation, Rochelle was an Australian of the Year finalist, Cosmopolitan Humanitarian of the Year, and Pride of Australia recipient. Ladies and gents, please put your hands together for the wonderful, the awe-inspiring Rochelle Courtenay. Hello. Thank you for coming.
How exciting is it to be here?
So excited to have you. The work you do truly matters. Okay, I want to congratulate you on the remarkable achievement that is Share the Dignity. Can you share a little bit about your organisation and the many initiatives since it came out?
Yeah, Share the Dignity is a charity that I started in 2015 when I read an article that talked about how there were 48,000 women in Australia without somewhere safe to call home. But what I read next changed me and changed Australia forever, that they were using socks and newspaper and wadded up toilet paper to deal with their period. Here in Australia, the lucky country, I couldn't believe it, and I was actually embarrassed that I'd never thought what women would do if they didn't have access to sanitary items. So at that stage, I had my own personal training business, and I asked all of my clients to bring me a packet of pads or tampons for every wine they had in the month of March 2015.
Oh, gosh. I wonder how many.
Who else would be bringing me bags? Because that's what they were doing. They go, don't count them, just take them. Thank you. So we collected 450 packets of pads and tampons.
Hopefully not from one
Not
client.
all, no, half probably. But and we had a little collection box, and it was a reflex box actually at our local school. But it was not like it was giving a woman a pair of shoes or a warm jacket, right? It was a monthly problem. And the problem was so much bigger than I ever imagined, because we have our drought-stricken farming communities, our remote Indigenous communities, and poverty on such a rise that people can't afford their electricity or their rent and food and fuel. So, you know, buying sanitary items has become a luxury for many Australians who live one paycheck to the next. So since we started the charity, we've now collected 3.4 million packets of sanitary items that we distribute to 3,000 charities around Australia. And we have these incredible people that we call our volunteers, Sheroes and Heroes, who are the backbone of Share the Dignity. So if you donate in Bundaberg or Bendigo or Broome, those donations stay in that area and they go out to all the domestic violence services and the homelessness shelters and those dealing with poverty to help them at that time.
Oh my gosh, what just an amazing. Now, every woman has different experiences with their periods. And I know that you've shared your experience suffering through endometriosis and experienced very heavy periods yourself. In recent years, I've started to notice more and more women are talking about endo in particular. Why do you think they feel more comfortable now than ever before to do that?
Yeah, I hope that Share the Dignity's played a role in that. I know I'm an absolute oversharer. So I've shared my endometriosis struggles. I've shared my hysterectomy, a partial hysterectomy, then a full hysterectomy. I don't think we ever talked about periods, right? So when I first started Share the Dignity, there wasn't a picture on the internet with people holding pads and tampons. Only Courtney Cox and that ad that was way back in the day. Now there are thousands of pictures of girls at netball carnivals donating pads and tampons. Yeah, in our white bikinis.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just changing that narrative and making sure that we share the stories. I don't think that, you know, when I went to school, I was never taught that the pain that I was going through was normal. So I never spoke about it because there was such shame and stigma, right, around periods. So if we don't talk about it, then we're not sharing what. It wasn't until I wanted to fall pregnant that I realized that I had endometriosis, and that was stopping me from falling pregnant. I just thought the painful periods that I had were normal because no one ever talked about it. So, so I'm really happy with how we're progressing on the line of removing that shame and stigma and opening conversations, because 1 in 8 of us suffer from endometriosis. That's a big number for Australian women. you know, there's so much that we need to do there. Doctors need to spend more time studying it, because if 1 in 8 men were coming down with something, they'd be studying that a little bit more. So I think that there's a whole scope of work that needs to be done. I don't think if I hadn't have suffered severely from endometriosis, would I have ever started a charity and be known as the pad lady? Probably not.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's relative.
Yeah, absolutely. I know one quote that serves as one of your guiding principles is the standard that you walk past is the standard that you accept. How did this resonate in relation to how you were moved to period poverty?
Yeah, look, when I read that article, I thought that you could either jog on and keep reading other articles, or you could do something about it. And I just think that the standard that you walk past is the standard that you accept, right? And I think that's with anything. If you see somebody, you know, struggling in the car park and you're not helping that mum with a growth, you know, like, just be kinder. We can all make a difference. I think that's really important. And I think that if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem.
Yes, 100%. And Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand, in June last year made sanitary products free to be stocked in schools in a bid to beat period poverty and improve attendance. Is there anything similar being lobbied here in Australia? Yeah,
look, we're really excited that we're part of removing the GST on those luxurious sanitary items that we all paid 10% GST on, right? So that was removed after a massive campaign to remove that GST in 2018. So on the 1st of January, that 10% GST was removed. We went straight into making sure that no girl missed out on a day of education because her parents couldn't afford sanitary items. So we started to roll out dignity vending machines into schools around Australia, homelessness shelters, hospitals. Now, you can get a CAT scan, pain relief, and your head sutured, but you can't get a pad guaranteed if you turn up in hospital and you've got your period. It's not acceptable here in Australia, but we don't talk about these things, right? So we have just secured a $13.7 million deal with the Queensland Education Department to roll out access to sanitary items in all schools, which is super exciting. Every school. So every school in Queensland, primary school, secondary school and tertiary education will have access to sanitary items. But what I'm more excited about, I'm excited that they'll have access to sanitary items, but there'll be a new education program installed in all Queensland schools that educates boys and girls. Because if we continue educating the way that we have, there's such shame. We don't educate boys. Boys end up being somebody's husband, boss, father, and they have no actual information around menstruation. Yeah. If you don't get your period, you come from somebody who does, right? So why are we not sharing that information?
And sometimes we need to send our men out to buy pads, which I've had to do on some occasions.
Absolutely.
Because it's an emergency situation. I might have been wearing white pants that day and they need to know what to look for, what to do, what to buy. They don't want them coming home with the big overnighties. Well, not cool, people.
And ultimately, if they're not educated on that, then we're not doing our job as parents and as educators. So that's really exciting, that Period Talk, which is these 6 sassy kids, 2 of them are boys, delivering the program to kids. Now, we funded it about 5 years ago and now it's rolling out in all Queensland schools. So now we want it to happen in every state. Each state has done some big headlines on we're going to provide sanitary items in this state. But in some states, when you dig deep, it's like $3.68 per student per year. That's okay if you only bleed once a year. Well, that would be nice, right?
Oh, my gosh. Now, Rochelle, for anyone else thinking about embarking on a journey of social justice or charity, what's some advice you can give on the first steps? Because I know when you started this journey, you learnt on a curve like this.
Little did I know that in order to have a charity that collected pads and tampons, and we collect in March and August, collection boxes go out in every Woolworths store around Australia, but also about another 1,000 stores like Commonwealth Banks and whether it be a florist, a hairdressing, they go out everywhere because they are advocating for change. They're being part of the solution and their voice is just as important as those donations. I would say to anyone, my biggest advice is surround yourself with amazing people, because I never did this ever on my own. I am always surrounded by people with skill sets in areas that I don't have, and just take people's help and talk to as many people as you can, because if you can learn from somebody else's mistakes, then you can avoid them yourself.
Fast track it. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And since 2015, when you started first collecting and distributing pads, you've amassed over 6,000 volunteers, garnering support at such a scale. It's no easy feat. How did you do it?
Again, I just surrounded myself with amazing people, but I also had a vision board. I still have a vision board. That vision board in 7 years, obviously I do a new one every year. And I have 3 main goals for the year, right? They're very different and they change all the time, but I'm very clear with what I need to do to be able to get the charity to where my job would be to retire. We only exist because the government doesn't do what they need to do. So I ultimately hope that one day Share the Dignity doesn't need to exist. But until then, I've got a really big job to do, and I just need to surround myself with amazing people and be really steely focused on what my tasks are in that job.
And we'd love to hear, like, spinning all the plates between business, family, all the rest of it. How do you do it? Because every time I track you on social media, stalk you, you're everywhere. You're Canberra, you're Melbourne, you're here, you're there. Yeah. How do you do it?
But you have to be, right? You have to be. I went to a Swifts netball game yesterday, and speaking at the corporate box beforehand, I then spoke in front of QBE, and a man came up to me at the end and said, I had never, ever contemplated that would be an issue for any woman. Thank you for sharing that story. So it's about always being in as many rooms as you can be in, because once you hear that a young girl has had to steal socks from a laundromat to deal with her period because she's living on the streets, you can't unhear that. And we're part of this problem, right? If we can donate, we can fix this problem. If we can donate in March and August and we can get donations out to the charities that are working with these women, we are part of the solution. We can make this problem go away and then tick off something else that needs to be done.
How do you balance it all? Family, bit like on planes,
bits and pieces. Around? Well, for some parts there's not a lot of family or friends time, but for me, friendships and my family and my work is all like bank accounts. When you deposit into them, you deposit really well, and sometimes you're going to have to take withdrawals. So I think Share the Dignity's bank account from me is quite full. And it's just about having good balance and structuring your time, because the most valuable thing that anyone has got is time, right? Which is why I say to our volunteers, I'm so appreciative of them giving their time. But my time is about family, friends, Share the Dignity. They're all massive passions of mine. So I never feel like I'm ever working, or, I could never spend enough time with my grandchild, with another one on the way as well. But, I've got work to do.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
I've got a few and another one due soon. I can't wait.
That's life's rainbows,
Isn't it, right?
Grandchildren are life's rainbows.
Someone told me once that your children are your money in the bank, but your grandchildren are the interest on the money. It's always so much sweeter.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love that. Switching gears a little bit. Brene, Drew or Ellen, who would you most love to have to dinner and why?
Oh, probably Brene Brown. I just love to listen to her voice.
Yes. I know.
I just love her voice,
access.
right? I just love it. Yeah. But I love what she stands for.
Yes.
I mean, that whole piece about being in the arena was so important to me at certain stages of the Share the Dignity. Once you put yourself out there are so many people out there who want to throw the tomatoes in at you. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, just go off and do what you need to do, because I'm really busy.
Exactly. I love that. So we're going to jump into a fun section now called Time Out.
All right.
Has anyone else missed the excitement and wonder of travel these past couple of years since the pandemic has left us grounded? I certainly have, but I'm a next level kind of travel crazy. My friends know this about me, but I actually don't go anywhere without my passport and a spare pair of knickers in my handbag, just in case I get the urge to get on a plane and go wandering. Seriously. These past couple of years have been so challenging, knowing I can't just take off on a spontaneous trip. And so, as borders open, we're getting more excited about travelling. I'm going to be asking you today to share your tidbits on travel, memorable experiences, favourite places to go, hilarious mid-flight stories, you name it. Welcome to Time Out. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm so ready.
Rapid fire questions. Okay, favourite city?
Venice.
Oh, favourite airport?
Brisbane, because then I know I'm home.
Bidet or no bidet?
No bidet.
No bidet.
No bidet.
What is top of your travel bucket list?
Greece.
Oh.
With my girlfriends for our 50th, even though our 50th was all during COVID.
Belated.
Yeah.
Famous in-flight encounter that you can share on a TV show?
I don't have one.
Oh, you don't have one yet?
Boring.
Okay. Most awe-inspiring landmark?
I'd have to say the Colosseum in Rome. Yeah. Eiffel Tower. I don't know. There's so many beautiful places that I've been so lucky to go to.
Lost luggage low?
I don't have one. Never had one. Touch wood.
What's your favourite foreign word that you can say on the show?
Vino.
My kind of girl. Yeah. What's your biggest first world problem?
Oh, ironing?
Ironing? I think we could all relate to that.
No one should buy those clothes that require ironing in the first place. Who am I? It's me who's creating my first world problem, though.
Do you send postcards?
No.
No. Strict schedule or go with the flow?
Go with the flow on holidays. Totally. It's a complete opposite to my normal life.
Do you stay friends with people you met on travel?
Yes.
Yes.
Facebook friends and then stalk them for years, even though I've only even met them once.
Who at home contacts you the most while you're away?
My daughter.
Uh-huh. Yes. Best shopping?
Oh, I'd have to say Miami.
Do you look at photos that you've taken on the trip of dolphins in the water and things that were really good real life but don't come up well on camera?
No, I used to be a photographer before I started Share the Dignity as well. And so photography is my absolute passion. I took a picture of at Positano and blew it up into this massive 2-metre image in a white frame, and it is so beautiful. Everyone says, "Oh, who did that?" And it was taken from my iPhone. Wow, it's amazing.
Wow. What's been the most interesting item of food you've eaten whilst travelling?
I had a bruschetta in Venice that changed my life forever. It was the best thing I've ever
That'd be
eaten.
a great book title. I know a publisher.
It was the best bruschetta ever.
Oh, really?
Best thing I've ever eaten in my life.
Oh, wow. What's the worst food you've ever had on a trip? Or worst?
Oh, I don't know. I'm so picky with food.
Random thing
I just think in America, anything that it's just such big, deep fried meals.
Yes.
I'm a fresh, clean kind of eater.
And what's the one thing you miss the most while travelling?
My bed.
Your bed.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Please help me give a beautiful thank you and warm love to Rochelle Courtenay from Share the Dignity. You've been amazing. Thank you so much.
Are you loving the Girlfriend Hour so far? We hope you've been inspired by the wonderful women you've seen sharing their stories. Do you have an inspiring story of your own to share? We're looking for magic just like yours. Be featured in Feminescence magazine and start your own exciting media journey. Join many other fabulous women who've been profiled in Feminescence magazine. Unlock access to an international audience, propel your career and expand your network. Make today the day you back yourself. What are you waiting for? Visit feminescence.com.au to find out more.